Have you ever laughed too hard and suddenly felt a little leak? Or rushed to the bathroom but just didn't make it in time? You're not alone. In fact, if you're a woman over 60, bladder leaks are not just possible, they're extremely common. And yet, we don't talk about them. We stay silent, feel ashamed, or worse, start changing our lifestyle quietly just to cope. We stop laughing fully. We avoid long trips. We sit close to restrooms in public places, and slowly, silently, we begin to shrink our lives to fit this unspoken discomfort. But today, that stops. This isn't just aging. It's not something you have to silently accept. And the truth is, some of the small things you do every single day might actually be making it worse. In this video, we're going to uncover 8 everyday habits that quietly sabotage your bladder health. And more importantly, I'll share what's helped me personally reclaim control, peace, and confidence. These aren't big medical treatments or expensive routines. They're gentle, thoughtful shifts. Some as small as when you drink your tea, or how often you hold your urge. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll share the one habit I almost overlooked. Yet it turned out to be the most powerful change of all, because here on Wise Elders Legacy, we don't just accept growing older, we grow wiser. And sometimes, wisdom means asking new questions about things we've long ignored. So if you've ever felt embarrassed by a leak or whispered, "Why is this happening to me?" this video might just change how you see yourself. Not as a woman with a problem, but as a woman finally getting answers. Now take a breath, and let's begin together. Let me ask you something simple. Have you ever held your urine just a little too long? Maybe you were in the middle of something, cleaning, cooking, out with friends, and you told yourself, "I'll go later." Maybe you didn't want to stop what you were doing, or maybe there just wasn't a bathroom nearby. Whatever the reason, you waited, and it didn't seem like a big deal until it became a habit. For years, I thought this was just part of life. I'm strong, I'd tell myself. I can hold it. But over time, I began noticing something I couldn't ignore. Sudden urges that came out of nowhere. That awful racing feeling where I barely made it to the bathroom. Or worse, didn't. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe I drank too much water. Maybe it's just age. But then I learned something that changed everything. When you ignore the urge to urinate, you're not just delaying a trip to the bathroom, you're retraining your bladder in the wrong direction. You see, the bladder is a muscle. It's meant to fill, stretch, and then empty. But when you consistently hold it too long, you're stretching that muscle past its natural capacity. Over time, this creates something doctors call bladder overdistension, a condition where the bladder loses its sensitivity, coordination, and control. That means you start to lose the natural signal that tells you when it's time to go, until the urge comes suddenly and forcefully, giving you little to no time to react. Even worse, this can lead to leaks, infections, incomplete emptying, and long-term pelvic floor strain. The very habit you thought was harmless, pushing through the urge, can be silently weakening your bladder's strength and stability. But that wasn't the only hidden culprit I had to face. Let's talk about caffeine. For decades, my morning coffee felt like a sacred ritual. It wasn't just a drink, it was comfort, routine, a little moment of joy that told my brain, "All right, the day begins now." I loved the warmth, the aroma, the clarity it brought. So when I started learning how caffeine might be making my bladder issues worse. I felt betrayed. Caffeine is a double-edged sword for bladder health. First, it's a stimulant. It activates the detrusor muscle, which controls bladder contractions. That means even a small amount of caffeine can make your bladder twitchy and reactive, creating sudden urgency even when it's not full. Second, caffeine is a diuretic. It tells your kidneys to make more urine. More urine. A sensitive bladder? That's a recipe for accidents. So what did I do? I didn't quit coffee entirely. I believe life should still have its little joys. But I made peace with moderation. Now I enjoy just one small, slow-sipped cup in the morning. No refills. I also became more aware of hidden caffeine in chocolate, in medications, even in decaf coffee, which still has trace amounts. In the afternoons, I switched to herbal teas or warm lemon water. Something soothing, something gentle. And let me tell you, the difference was powerful. Within a couple of weeks, I wasn't rushing to the bathroom as often. The constant low-level anxiety around where's the restroom began to fade. I felt in control again. It's funny how something as small as a cup of coffee or how long you wait to go to the bathroom can have such a ripple effect on your daily peace. And that's the deeper lesson here. Taking care of your bladder isn't about giving up pleasure. It's about learning to honor your body's natural rhythm. About replacing habits of dismissal with habits of attention. It's not weakness to listen to your body. It's wisdom. So the next time you feel that first whisper of an urge, don't wait. Don't tell yourself it can hold. That's not strength, it's stress. Go when your body calls. Give it the respect it deserves. And if you're someone who cherishes your morning coffee like I did, just try cutting back, not cutting out. Find a balance that supports your peace instead of stealing it. Here on Wise Elders Legacy, we're not chasing perfection. We're embracing awareness. One small habit at a time. Up next, I'll share a habit I see many women doing without even realizing it, and how it quietly makes the problem worse, not better. And trust me, it's something everyone thinks is helping. So stick with me. We're just getting started. When the leaks started happening more often, I made a decision that felt logical at the time. I told myself, okay, if less liquid goes in, less will come out. So I started drinking less water. No more sipping throughout the day. I stopped carrying my water bottle. I avoided drinks in the afternoon. In my mind, this was me taking control. Smart, proactive. But what I didn't realize was, I wasn't solving the problem. I was making it worse. You see, bladder health is not just about holding less. It's about flow, about balance, and dehydration that throws everything off. Let me explain. When we don't drink enough water, our urine becomes more concentrated, darker in color, stronger in smell. That might seem harmless, but it's actually harsh on your bladder lining. Concentrated urine is acidic and irritating, and for a sensitive bladder, that irritation can trigger even more urgency and more leaks. Ironic, isn't it? The very thing I was trying to avoid, those dreaded urgent moments, became more frequent the less I drank. Not only that, but dehydration also causes muscles, including the pelvic floor, to lose tone and flexibility. A dry body is a stiff, tired body, and a tired pelvic floor can't do its job well. So I had to unlearn what I thought was common sense. I had to trust that hydration is not the enemy. It's part of the healing. Now that doesn't mean you need to guzzle gallons of water. It just means drinking enough mindfully. Here's what I started doing. A full glass of water first thing in the morning, before coffee, before anything. Small sips throughout the day, especially between meals, and I stopped large drinks about 2 hours before bed, just to give my body time to process it. The key is timing, not total restriction. And guess what? My bladder thanked me. The irritation lessened. The constant urge dialed down. I didn't feel that tight, anxious pressure anymore. It felt like a softening, a loosening of tension, both in my body and my mind. There's something poetic about it, really. When we deny ourselves water, the most basic form of nourishment, we also deny ourselves ease. But when we start treating hydration as kindness, not fear, everything shifts. Here's a question I'll leave with you. Are you drinking to support your body, or avoiding drinking because you don't trust it? That was a tough one for me to answer, honestly. But once I did, I realized I was operating from fear, not wisdom. And here at Wise Elders Legacy, we're learning to live from wisdom, from awareness, from trust in our bodies, not punishment. So if you've been holding back on water out of fear of leaks, consider this your gentle invitation to revisit that habit. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. Because sometimes healing begins not with restriction, but with release. Coming up next, the hidden power of your pelvic floor and why ignoring it might be costing you more than you realize. Don't go anywhere. You're going to want to hear this one. For a long time, I believed that pelvic floor exercises, those things people call Kegels, were only for young women after childbirth. I saw them in magazine articles with headlines like "Tighten Up After Baby" or "Bounce Back Postpartum." And as a woman in my 60s, then 70s, I thought, that ship has sailed. Besides, how could something so simple, just squeezing a few muscles I couldn't even see, possibly make a difference after decades of aging? But here's what I didn't understand then. The pelvic floor isn't some bonus muscle group you only worry about when you're young. It's a foundational part of our body's design. And for women, it's the very core of our continence, our stability, our posture, and even our sense of confidence. It's like the unsung hero of our anatomy, quiet, overlooked, but powerful. And as we age, this hero gets tired. Between gravity, menopause, reduced estrogen, and a lifetime of lifting, coughing, sneezing, and sitting, our pelvic floor weakens. And when it does, it can't support the bladder like it used to. That's when we start seeing leaks, not because we're too old, but because no one ever taught us how to care for this invisible but vital part of us. When I first heard that pelvic floor muscles can be retrained, just like biceps or thighs, I was skeptical. But I figured, what do I have to lose? So I started, quietly, privately, just a few squeezes a day, no gym membership, no equipment, just me and my breath. At first it felt silly. I wasn't even sure I was doing it right, but I kept at it while brushing my teeth, sitting in traffic, standing in line. Moments that used to feel wasted became little windows of strength building, and something incredible happened. After a few weeks, I started noticing less urgency. I wasn't waking up multiple times at night. I could laugh freely again, really laugh, without that nervous fear of leaking. But something even deeper changed. I started walking taller, feeling stronger from the inside out. There was a quiet confidence that came from knowing my body was not broken. It was responding. It was rebuilding. And here's what I want every woman over 60 to know. You are not too old to get stronger. Your muscles still listen. They still learn. They still adapt. Pelvic floor exercises aren't just about avoiding accidents. They're about reclaiming your relationship with your own body. They're a reminder that strength isn't always loud or visible. It can be quiet, internal, and life-changing. If you're unsure how to start, here's a simple way. Sit or lie, down comfortably. Imagine you're trying to stop the flow of urine or gently lift something inside you. Squeeze those muscles for 3 to 5 seconds, then relax for the same time. Repeat 10 times. Do this 2 to 3 times a day. That's it. No fancy equipment. Just focused attention. And if you're still wondering, will this really work for me? Let me tell you, I was asking the same question, and now I'm answering it for someone else. Maybe for you. Because here at Wise Elders Legacy, we believe age isn't the end of change. It's the beginning of conscious change. And that's far more powerful than anything we do unconsciously in youth. So give your body a second chance. Squeeze, breathe, believe. Coming up in the next part, a mistake I made for years that felt smart and responsible at the time, but turned out to be quietly worsening my leaks. It's something most women over 60 do. I wonder if you are too. Stay with me. We're peeling back one layer at a time. When I first started having bladder leaks, I did what I thought any sensible woman would do. I reached for the easiest solution. Absorbent pads. No one had to know. I could manage it quietly. I told myself it was just a small change, a discreet fix. I even kept a little stash in my purse, just in case. And for a while, that worked. I felt prepared, protected, in control. But here's the part no one tells you. That sense of control? It's a fragile illusion, because what I was really doing wasn't fixing anything. I was just catching the symptoms, like placing a bucket under a leaky roof. It keeps the floor dry for a while, sure, but it doesn't stop the rain. And it certainly doesn't repair the damage that caused the leak in the first place. The longer I relied on pads, the less I paid attention to what my body was trying to tell me. I stopped asking questions. I stopped noticing patterns. I stopped wondering why the leaks were happening and just accepted them as inevitable. That's the danger of pads. They're not the problem, but they can keep us from facing the real problem. Over time, this quiet dependence begins to shape how we live. You start planning your outings around restroom access. You sit at the edge of social gatherings. You stop wearing certain clothes or dancing or laughing too hard. And piece by piece, your life becomes smaller, not because of the leaks themselves, but because of the fear behind them. But here's the shift that changed everything for me. What if I stopped hiding and started healing? I began to look beyond the pad. I started tracking when and why the leaks happened. I noticed connections between certain foods, drinks, stress levels, even posture. I started seeing my doctor regularly, asking the questions I had avoided for years, and I truly committed to my pelvic floor routine. The difference? I went from managing the problem to understanding it. I still carry pads sometimes, yes, on long trips, or when I know I'll be in an unfamiliar place. But now they're a backup plan, not a lifestyle, a tool, not a crutch. And more importantly, I no longer feel ashamed of my body, because I realized something no pad could ever offer me: clarity, agency, and hope. You see, reclaiming your bladder health isn't just a physical journey. It's an emotional one. It means letting go of the belief that this is just what happens when you get older. It means choosing to listen to your body again, even if you're decades past menopause. It means replacing silence with curiosity and fear with self-compassion. Because here's the truth. When we hide our problems, they grow in the dark. But when we face them gently and bravely, they begin to shift. So if you've been quietly relying on pads like I did, thinking they're your only option, I want you to hear this from one woman to another. You deserve more than a patch. You deserve a path toward understanding, toward healing, toward living without fear. And it starts not with judgment, but with a question. What else might be possible if I believed my body could change? In the next part of our journey, we'll explore a habit that may seem small, but for many women it's a secret saboteur, the comforting drink before bedtime. Could your evening routine be quietly stealing your sleep and your bladder control? Stay with me. We're just getting to the heart of it. Every night around 9 p.m., I had a ritual I loved. I'd turn off the TV, dim the lights, and make myself a warm mug of herbal tea. Sometimes chamomile, sometimes peppermint, sometimes just hot water with honey. I'd sit quietly in my favorite chair, hands wrapped around the mug, and exhale the weight of the day. It felt like comfort, like calm, like closure. And for years, I believed that cup was helping me sleep better, until it started waking me up. At first it was just once in the night, then twice. Then I found myself jolting awake at 2:30, 3:15, 4 a.m., rushing to the bathroom, sometimes making it in time, sometimes not. And the worst part, I'd struggle to fall back asleep. My body was tired, but my mind had switched back on. I blamed aging. I blamed stress. I blamed everything except my beloved tea. But then I learned something surprising and honestly a little humbling. As we age, our bladders become more sensitive at night. The muscles that once held urine comfortably for 7-8 hours begin to lose tone. Meanwhile, our kidneys don't get the memo to slow down overnight like they used to. So we keep producing urine even while we sleep. And here's the kicker. Even harmless drinks like herbal tea or water, if consumed too late, add pressure to a bladder that's already struggling to rest. It wasn't the tea that was the problem. It was when I drank it. Once I realized this, I didn't give up my ritual. I simply moved it earlier. Now I enjoy my tea around 6:30 or 7 p.m. instead of right before bed. That gives my body time to process it gently, without turning it into a 3 a.m. emergency. I also became more intentional in the evening. No large drinks within 2 hours of bedtime, sips only, not gulps if I get thirsty, and a trip to the bathroom right before I crawl under the covers. The results were almost immediate. I started sleeping through the night again. My mornings felt less foggy. My energy returned, not just physically, but emotionally. There's a quiet kind of joy that comes from waking up dry, rested, and confident again, and it reminded me of a deeper truth. Sometimes, the things that bring us comfort can also quietly create discomfort if we're not paying attention. And aging isn't just about letting go. It's about learning when to shift, because in every season of life, our bodies speak to us differently. And when we learn to listen, we stop seeing these changes as failures and start seeing them as invitations. So here's your gentle invitation. If you've been waking up to go, maybe it's time to look at what you're sipping and when. It's not about deprivation, it's about timing, about grace, about honoring your body's changing rhythm with a little more love and a little less autopilot. In the next part, we'll talk about something that many women avoid out of fear or embarrassment. But that might be the most important step in reclaiming bladder health, talking to your doctor. It's not always easy, but it could change everything. Stay with me. We're walking toward healing together. Of all the habits that silently sabotage bladder health, this one might be the most damaging, staying silent. I remember the first time I considered bringing it up. I was sitting on the paper-lined exam table, feet dangling slightly, heart racing. My doctor was cheerful, efficient, asking about my medications, my blood pressure, my cholesterol. But when she said, "Any other concerns?" I froze. I wanted to speak. I wanted to say, "I'm leaking. I feel ashamed. I don't know what's happening to my body." But instead I smiled, shook my head and said, "Nope, all good." Why? Because somewhere deep inside, I believed the leaks were my fault. Because I thought she might judge me. Because I didn't want to be that woman. So I stayed silent, and the silence grew. I started avoiding long outings. I packed extra underwear in my purse. I stopped sleeping over at my daughter's house. I smiled through dinners, through weddings, through life. But quietly, I was managing something I thought no one else could understand. Until one day, a friend, braver than me, shared her story. She had opened up to her doctor. And what she found wasn't shame, it was relief. Her doctor listened with care, explained how common bladder incontinence is, especially in women over 60, told her about causes she'd never considered, medications, hormone changes, even nerve pathways affected by past injuries, and most importantly, helped her find solutions. That conversation didn't just help her bladder, it helped her feel whole again, and I thought to myself, why am I still hiding? So at my next appointment, I finally spoke up. My voice trembled, a little. I stared at the floor, but I said the words. And you know what my doctor did? She smiled. She nodded. She said, "I'm so glad you told me." She explained my symptoms, offered options, some as simple as physical therapy, some medical, some lifestyle-based. There were names for what I was experiencing. There were treatments. There was hope. And that day, I realized embarrassment doesn't heal us, but honesty can. If you're watching this and you've been holding it in, not the urine, but the truth, I want to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to ask questions. You deserve a doctor who listens. And if you don't have one, keep looking until you do. Because this isn't just about managing leaks. It's about reclaiming your power, your confidence, your freedom. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is simply start the conversation. If you don't know where to begin, start with a sentence as simple as, "I've noticed they've been having bladder leaks. Can we talk about it?" That one line could open the door to a new chapter of healing. Because here at Wise Elders Legacy, we believe the legacy we leave isn't built from silence, but from the courage to speak, to grow, and to take care of ourselves with dignity. And now I'd love to know, what part of this journey resonated with you most? Was it the reminder to drink differently, to move your body again, or to finally make that doctor's appointment? Let's talk in the comments. You're not alone. Not anymore. In the next and final part, I'll offer you a gentle, empowering recap of all the changes we've explored, plus the single mindset shift that helped me the most on this journey. Trust me. You'll want to hear this ending. Stay with me. one last step. So let's take a quiet breath together. We've come a long way in this conversation. We've peeled back the layers of habits that, on the surface, seemed harmless, even comforting. But underneath, we're slowly stealing our ease, our sleep, and sometimes our dignity. And here's what we've uncovered. We learned that ignoring the urge to urinate might feel like discipline, but can actually retrain the bladder in damaging ways. That caffeine, especially in coffee or chocolate, can overstimulate the bladder and lead to urgency and leakage. That reducing water intake doesn't prevent accidents. It makes the bladder more irritated and less functional. That neglecting pelvic floor exercises means we miss the opportunity to rebuild the very muscles that help us stay dry and steady. That relying solely on pads keeps us stuck in silent management instead of moving toward true healing. That late night drinks, even herbal ones, might be quietly sabotaging our sleep, and that timing matters just as much as content. And maybe hardest of all, we saw that avoiding our doctors out of shame only delays the solutions waiting patiently behind that first brave question. But through all of this, one truth rises above the rest. You are not powerless, you are not broken, and you are certainly not alone. Incontinence is not a life sentence. It's a signal, a message from your body asking for attention, not punishment. And once we stop hiding from it, once we lean in with compassion instead of shame, healing becomes possible. Now I know change isn't always easy, but it doesn't have to be massive to be meaningful. Maybe it starts with swapping your second coffee for a calming herbal tea. Maybe it's 3 sets of gentle pelvic squeezes while brushing your teeth. Maybe it's drinking your water a little earlier and visiting the bathroom before you need to. Or maybe, just maybe, it's making that call you've been putting off to a doctor, a therapist, or a friend. Because the truth is, it's not about perfection. It's about direction. And if today you've shifted even 1 degree toward awareness, toward courage, toward care, then you're already moving toward a future that feels better, fuller, freer. At Wise Elders Legacy, we believe that age is not the end of growth. It's the beginning of living more intentionally, more gracefully, more you. So let this be your legacy, not one of silence, but one of strength. And before we close, I have one final question. What's one small shift you'll make this week just for you? Leave it in the comments. Your story might be the light that guides someone else. And if this video has helped you in any way, I'd be so grateful if you'd give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Wise Elders Legacy for more stories, tools, and truths that honor the beauty of aging with intention. This isn't goodbye. It's the beginning of a new relationship with your body, with your choices, with your power. You've got this, and we're walking beside you every step of the way.